I was just wondering if you could elaborate like your injury journey, because I know you've had like 2 or something. So if you could explain, because I wasn't here last year, if you could explain like what has gone on since last season.
So I had my first knee surgery my junior year of high school. And then I believe my freshman fall, I had my second knee surgery. And then, no, that was my sophomore fall. Before last spring, I had my second knee surgery. And then April of last year, we were playing South Carolina, and I tore my UCL. And then wound up having another knee surgery this fall. So the last full game time I actually had was last April, before getting back for the spring.
So is it all been the same knee? Which knee? Or
2 on my left knee, 1 on my right, and then my elbow.
Is it like ACL, MCL? Is it like
All meniscus on my knees, yeah.
When you get into one of these zones like you're in right now, what does it feel like?
Personally, I think there's a lot more that could come from what I'm doing. I think daily I just need to keep making improvements. There's still at-bats that I'm kind of giving away time to time, but really just sticking with the same mental routine every at-bat. The term stay within yourself is very cliche, but I know what I'm able to do, so there's not a need for me to try and do more and more and more, which in the past that's been my issue, where it's like, let me hit this ball harder, let me hit this ball farther, when that doesn't need to be the case. Just put consistent at-bats together that move the offense, because Jay's done a good job at emphasizing that, because ultimately that's what wins games, is having those big innings, and then when you can control the game on the mound and defensively, it just becomes like an onslaught. And we're still trying to figure a bunch of that stuff out, but it's going to click here soon.
The mental approach for a catcher, I think, has to be probably different than most other positions. Obviously, Alex is a guy who has contributed this year. Tyler's a guy who's contributed this year. Just for you, how do you prepare yourself for something like that happened yesterday, where you thinking it's going to be Alex, and then you're kind of thrown in there?
Well, yeah, I wasn't prepared for that whatsoever. I thought there was going to be a change after a few innings, but they just said, get your gear on. I said, all right, well, I guess I'm starting. No, but in terms of catching, I think, and Alex and Tyler do a good job of it, but your job is to know your pitchers, how to control them emotionally and mentally, how to help them adjust, and then just control the tempo of the game. Obviously, there's physical things you need to do and adjustments you need to make, and I'm no exception to that. But I think that gets overlooked a lot from the catching position, is how you're able to work with pitchers and umpires, and how it affects the flow of the game. And I think all 3 of us do a good job with that.
When you talk about the mental stuff, and I know Jay has preached that, is that stuff leading up to a game? Is it during the game? Can you just give us a little bit of insight of what exactly and I know it's different player to player, but what exactly you guys are doing to kind of focus in?
I think it's everything. It's the way you talk to yourself. It's the way you react. I mean, we've had periods. We've had a bunch of guests come in and do some mental stuff with us, like training type deals, and then we do breathing and visualization before games. It's all just kind of, I like the visualization a lot. It just helps with not preemptively, but you see success, and then I think you're able to repeat it without actually having to have done it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I think just it's a big combination of things.
What's your favorite paint color?
Well, I went this yesterday and I hit 2 home runs, so I think I might have to stick with it for a little bit.
That second one, did you think you got that one?
I don't know.
It was probably higher than it was long.
Yeah, it was very high. I hit it and I was like, I don't know. A little bit too high.
Are you like a superstitious guy? In that
No,
sense?
I'm not at all. I try to stray away from being very superstitious, because I think I would take it a step too far, to where everything on a daily basis would be the exact same, and I wouldn't be able to stray away from it. So no, I try and treat it like a game, because that's all it is.
You don't have to give any names here, but is there anybody on this team that has the weirdest superstition that you can recall?
Yeah, Rezelman, when he comes into the game, he won't cross through the outfield. He'll come all the way down past first base and then make a 90-degree turn.
Like when he's coming through the game.
Yeah, he'll go past first base and then take a 90-degree angle.
That's hilarious. Yeah, if you could maybe elaborate on, I know we spoke in Florida about Grant Taylor, but like, what is it about him that makes him so kind of like stable on the
Right.
mound? And if he gets in a bind, like, what are some, how do you like communicate with him on that?
He knows himself as a pitcher, which I think is very important. There's not a time where, like even after the first inning yesterday, he gave a few hits and there were some plays that weren't made, but it didn't fluster him whatsoever. There was no change of pace, change of tempo. He's very controlled. And I think he's very advanced he's a very smart person. I mean, his major is finance. I don't know many people that come into college majoring in finance. But he's a very smart person. I think he knows himself as a pitcher. He's obviously got good stuff. He has 5 pitches to work with, all like very plus pitches. Overall, I think he just knows what he's doing. He's a pitcher versus a thrower. And he doesn't waver mentally. So I think he's able to go pitch to pitch instead of carrying stuff on as the game goes on.
Is it tough to deal with pitchers that are really smart like that? Because pitchers always take it to another level mentally. Is it tough? Do you communicate with him differently than you do anybody else?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's easier in that case because there's not a whole lot I have to say. Whether if it's a pitch that just needs to be located differently, there's not a whole lot that him and I usually talk about. We usually talk about just game plan stuff and how we want to attack the upcoming inning. But with him and, I mean, we have a lot of guys like that are really just know themselves, and that'll show as time goes on. But no, there's not really anything that.
I'm sure you've noticed this, just in terms of past years, but there does definitely seem to be an increase in like mound meetings in between innings and stuff like that. I mean, I know you can't go into too much detail on what is said, but just I guess the genesis of having that many meetings in a game, does it help or does it hurt the team? Like just what?
I wouldn't say either or. I think it's just because I've talked to people who have known Coach Johnson from before he got here, and that's just what he does. He's able to control the tempo of the game to where you can flip momentum either way by doing it. And a lot of the times it's just reiterating what we're trying to do. In that case, we're talking about defensive positionings or where we want to try and get outs. And again, it all goes back to the mentality of stuff of having the intent of trying to do something and then just executing it.
I just kind of want to know how you got into the catching position, just in general.
I think it was about, like 7 or 8 or so. I just don't think anybody would do it. And so ever since then, it's just been catch, and then I would play like third or first occasionally, but it's always been that primarily. But I like it because I'm able to stay engaged, and you have a big impact on the game from mind to play. Even with things that people don't see, there's a big impact.
I know, like in major leagues, it's different, but you're kind of like you're the tallest catcher on this team. Do you think it's harder because you're like you're higher above the ground, or like
a little bit?
Have you
yeah.
been told you're kind of tall for a catcher?
Yeah, I mean, I think the average height a while back for a big league catcher was around like 5'9", 5'10". But I mean, I've met dudes who are like, they're like 6'5", 6'6". Obviously, you got like dudes like Salvi, Matt Wieters is 6'6". But no, I think I've been able to adjust with my size, and especially with injuries that I've had, make adjustments on how I position my body, the things I do, that I think that have helped, and I think that's kind of not made my size a deterrent, but kind of assist me in that way.
Do you feel like your production at bat, like, did you make any changes to your swing this season, or kind of what has attributed that? I mean, it's been a pretty accelerated progression there.
I think mentally, I'm just not trying to force things. More so, a lot of times it's letting, like, I'll think about the pitcher supplying power versus me trying to do anything, because I know all I have to do is square balls up and I'll get positive outcomes. And in terms of mentioning like swing change, last year I think I had a different swing every game. That's something I've done like all growing up, is always tinkered with swing, stuff like that, just because if you're able to let your body find ways to like remap itself and adjust, then, but I would take it to too much of an extreme. I'd have a different swing every game and there wouldn't really be consistency. But now I think I've done it enough to where like I found what works and what's led me to success. So I just need to keep working on it daily, and then results will follow.
You being a bigger guy, flexibility huge for you? Flexible?
Yeah, well, especially after 3 knee surgeries, yeah. Just I had do a lot of different strength training stuff, focusing on like movements and the shapes of my body. And there's still work to be done, obviously, but I think that versus trying to go in the weight room and lift a bunch of weight and be like, I'm big enough. I don't need to be stronger. It's just about functional health and staying healthy. And that's paid big dividends. I mean, this past weekend I think it's the first time in college I've caught 3 games in a weekend series like that. And the next day I felt perfectly fine. So just continue with the daily work of keeping my body healthy and fresh and ready to go.
What goes into that functional?
I just had to change the way I was like working out in particular. I don't go in there and try and deadlift the house or bench press every single day. Like I just do what my body needs in order for me to be able to go out on the field for 9 innings and then do it again the next day, rather than once a week and then, oh, it's another injury type deal.
You have multiple knee surgeries and then elbow surgery. Like mentally, how do you get through that? Like, was there a moment where you're like, maybe I'm done with baseball?
There was multiple times, yeah, and I don't think people realize that. And that's kind of the cool part of it, because it's not that it's happened behind the scenes, but I mean, I can't thank my dad enough, my girlfriend, my dog, just a lot of supportive family, friends. Because I mean, I was away for 9 months this past year, and then another 5 months the fall before. So I mean, I've been without baseball more than I've been with it in the past few years. So I think my perspective on the game's changed entirely to where, what do I have to lose? You know what I mean? I can just go play versus trying to force results or make things happen where I can just enjoy it, because, I mean, obviously you never know what's going to happen.
Straightening the hair back?
I don't know. Not with this humidity, man. I sweat too much.
I feel like you cut it, you start hitting bombs.
Exactly. So, yeah. Long hair, 3 surgeries. Short hair, no surgeries. I think that's the key.
All that extra weight.
Yeah,
couldn't
I know.
drive through
I
it,
think
you know?
so.
That's just. Was that just like a random, or did
Yeah.
you just
Because
tired of it?
that's when we had the pandemic, obviously. And I think I had 1 haircut the week before going into the pandemic, and I didn't cut it until like a good year or so. And then I was like, damn, I'm sweating too much. I'm not taking good care of it. This isn't working.
You didn't cut it yourself, did
No. I would cut it myself when I had it long,
you? Yeah.
just because it was easy. But no, I just got someone to shave it off and move on.
What do you love about baseball with kept you in it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I love the daily. It's problem solving at the end of the day. What did I do wrong here? How can I fix it? What adjustment needs to be made? It's a very big. It's like chess. It's just very back and forth. I think that's my favorite part of it. And then obviously growing up, I got to do, all the training and practicing with my dad every day. So I think that instilled a love at a young age to where it was like, this is what I want to be doing for as long as my body will let me. But every day I'm here reminds me of when me and my dad would go hit, stuff like that. So I think that propels me forward to where it's like, it's not only that my time is invested, it's every day that he would get off work early and we'd go to the field, or like, there's more in it than just that. So I think those 2 aspects really. Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hayden.